Yes, please.
What should the Nigerian media do differently to help the country recover better from the challenges associated with national unity, security, and development? What can they do differently than what they've been doing in the past?
The major challenge which I think the media should face is the issue of fake news. They are becoming a nation, maybe worldwide, where some untrained individuals just develop some terrible news item that could cause lead to very dangerous situation. I'll give an example. In my younger days, the Civil War was started by a major fake news promoted by the French news agency, AFP. The news agency carried a story that some Northerners were being slaughtered in Port Harcourt. The story was not cross-checked, and the Northerners just started what became a pogrom, the killings of Igbos in the northern part of the country. Those killings were the beginning of what led to the Nigerian Civil War. The major challenge that we should face is how to contain and how to reduce the issue of fake news. An example is the news carried about 2-3 days ago claiming that an helicopter owned by the former head of state, General Salami Abaka, had been grounded by bees, and that the helicopter was covered by bees that made it inoperative, and that the helicopter was being used by terrorists and bandits. And they claimed that the helicopter belonged to General Salami Abaka. Of course, General Salami Abaka is a man, a general very well known to be a close friend for many years. So I phoned him. And he said that he doesn't own a Rolls Royce, not to talk of owning a helicopter. And that he's living his private life in Mina. You can imagine such terrible news, how it can lead. I mean, his life could be in danger if he's associated with terrorism. So what we should do is how to find a way of containing the peddling of terrible and fake news that can lead into a very, very dangerous situation in the country.
But you know that the federal government tried to enact a law that would ban fake news, and there's been an uproar within civil society and government circles because people are afraid of banning and suppression and human rights issues. So that fine line between preventing the proliferation of fake news and the right of government to regulate. I mean, how would you advise them to go about it?
I do not agree that the government has any right whatsoever to control news items or to control the opinion of people. If you recall the American Constitution, the first amendment in the American Constitution was that Congress shall make no law to abridge the right of the individual in America. First Amendment. It is dangerous to ever cede the power to control the media or to control opinion into the hands of government. What I believe and what I've been preaching is that my colleagues in the media should be active on modern day digital system on the internet, and that we should take control to ensure that those who are not trade journalists, who don't know their right from their left, who try to peddle fake news, are contained. I mean, example is whenever we see a fake news, we should immediately check with the individual concerned, and we carry a major story to contain it. It should be self-regulation, not government regulation at all. It's dangerous.
I agree with you, sir, but however, these ungoverned spaces, the social media, a lot of young people in particular probably do not read the print media anymore. And there's some degree of distrust, I would say, between the population and the media generally. It's a global problem. So if the media can regulate itself, how do we control Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all these other social media outlets? How would the media be able to do that if government does not step in and there are not consequences for this fake perversion of information?
Well, an example is the way the Facebook treated Donald Trump. Last week, they came out again and still invoked the ban on Donald Trump. I mean, that is self-regulatory. It wasn't the American government that took that step. That is my own idea of self-regulation that I'm talking about. If you leave it to government, government will apply censorship. You recall that the channel television about 2 or 3 weeks ago was said to have been fined 5 million, and I was opposed to it. The reason being that you said that she interviewed a terrorist.
You are muted, sir. You unmute yourself. You are unmuted now, but your video is off, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to come back to you. Is it better? You know, these modern day gadgets are so easy to handle. Coming back to you is being let me see. Yes, I'm trying to come back to you, but somehow I can't.
If you just start the video where it says video,
all right.
You're back.
Now,
Okay,
now as I was, let me go back to China was fine. There was an attempt to fine China Television 5 million for talking to other secretary of spokesperson of a terrorist group, and I was shocked. Reason is this: Shegumi had been going around meeting these so-called bandits and terrorists, and they've been posting the meetings on social media, on so many platforms. Shegumi had now been accused of hobnobbing with the so-called bandits. Why should Shehu on channel television interviewing somebody be now be subjected to the sledgehammer of the government? That's an example of where, if we are not careful and we leave this to the hands of government, can easily be used against all of us.
Thank you so much, sir. And your advice in terms of engaging with the media companies, Twitter, Facebook, would be a more effective avenue for controlling social media. We think that's a really good idea. Now, the second question is, taking a longer view, looking into the future, if you picture Nigeria in 10 years, what 3 things would you want to see the media do? The priority 3 things that you'd want to see the media do to contribute to national development, security, and unity?
As I said earlier, I want the media to go digital. The days of hard copy of newspapers are gone. For example, I subscribe to e-paper, and I read my papers like This Day, Sun, Tribune, Trust, online. I don't have to wait for vendors to supply hard copies to me. In fact, the managing director of Sun at times sends me the copy of the paper around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I will have read the paper before I go to bed because I sleep late. So we must now go digital. Secondly, anybody who is working for any media house must be internet literate, because unless you are literate in modern day technology, we will not be able to match. So that's my second suggestion to media houses. And lastly, there must be continuous training of journalists, regular training, gaining experiences, and on top of it, we have to show higher responsibility, self-assessment, self-control, and as I said, higher responsibility on our side.
Thank you very much. The third question is, what is your experience of the interaction between media, government, business, and civil society? Can you tell us how good and bad it has been? What are the good examples? What are the bad examples? So that a network like, NNNGO is a national network with membership from all over the country. What are the lessons that we can learn in terms of the good examples you've seen from these interactions and the bad examples?
A good example of interaction is that no media can survive without adequate interaction with both the private sector and government, because we survive on advertisement from the two sectors, both government and the private sector. Then you have to draw a very delicate line between becoming subjective because of the efforts of trying to make money to sustain the media houses. Those are some of the good part of it. But the bad part of it is that in many cases, we tend to self-censor ourselves when we see news that affect those who are the ones sustaining us financially. There are occasions when you get a story that affects a major stakeholder, a major private sector company, that you are torn between being professional and being protective of either the government or the company that is sustaining you in terms of revenue. These are the two thin lines between the interaction in terms of sustenance with government and private sector and our being professional in our approach to handling of news items that affect those that help to sustain the media.
But you know that some of these media houses are actually owned by the giants of politics and business. So I want to find out, what regulations do you think should be in place to create a distance and a monopoly and influence between the paper and its owners?
Well, you can never make law about the relationship between practicing journalists and the publishers of the newspaper or owners of the radio or TV stations. They have always argued that there's no total freedom anywhere in the world. The Jews control the media in the United States of America. And most of the newspaper will not go do anything that will be against the interests of the Jews. Look at what is going on at the moment between the Israelis and the Palestinians. The American media controlled by the Jews. Look at Fox News. Rupert Murdoch was all on the side of Donald Trump and his argument that the election was stolen. So you can never have absolute freedom for partisan journalism. The only thing is that any journalist working for any owner or any publisher must attune himself to the editorial policy of that newspaper. I'll give you examples in Nigeria. You cannot imagine the Vanguard, for example, ever going against the security interest. We have the issue of the new law of worry on the forefront of issues now. The owner of Vanguard is a core prince of Ishekiri. So how can you work in Vanguard and be antagonistic to the Ishekiri interest? In the Delta, for example, the Hebrews have business interest. They are Yoruba. You cannot go work in the Delta and start talking anything uncomplimentary about the Yoruba interest. You go to Punch. Ibadan interest is so strong in the Punch. So we journalists have to decide to live with the editorial policy of the founder, of the owners, of the media houses that we work for.
Which is a push and pull and a difficult thread to manage.
In the nation, you can't go against the interests of the progressives or go against the interests of Ashwaju Ahmed Tinubu. Each organization has its own editorial policy, and we journalists have to live with the editorial policy. If you are fed up with the editorial policy of the particular organization, we move on to another one.
But in terms, it can really be so dangerous. We've seen it play out in the politics of America, where it's not just a political challenge, it's a health challenge, because Fox News is anti-vaccination, it has supported Trump policies over time, and it has a large following. So we know that it is a difficult challenge to solve. But as Nigerians, can we think of something that is more homegrown? Because we are not as polarized. We are polarized in some way. We have our ethnic enclaves, but we are not as polarized, I think, as the Americans are, into a Trump camp or a Biden camp or a liberal, conservative, or what is their own politics between the party of Trump and the party is now Trumpism and the party of Biden. So while we still have an environment that is less polarized, we're not totally entrenched. What are some of the policies we could, put in place to prevent us moving in that direction, so that we kind of only loyal to one channel or one point of view, and we do not consider other things that may actually affect our health and well-being, where people are not getting their vaccines because they believe what Trump says or not say. So how can we do some of that preventative measures?
Well, the same problem you have in America are very much here in Nigeria. As you have the evangelical people in the United States, you have the radical churches in Nigeria too, who are preaching against vaccination in the same way that the evangelical are promoted by Fox News. And when you talk of division, just as we have Boko Haram, we have bandits, terrorists, the Kwanon, the oath takers are all one and the same, extremists of the biggest order. You would think that the Americans are that educated. They are not that exposed as we are. Many of them have not gone beyond their little village. They don't listen to any station more than their FM radio station within their vicinity. They don't read New York Times or Los Angeles Times or Washington Post as you and I do. They are so, I won't call
insular.
it
Very insular.
So parochial that whatever those stations are pump into their heads, I cannot believe that even as the moment in Arizona, they are still recounting an election that have been tested in about 60 courts, and the Department of Justice is saying that there's nothing like rigging and anything. That America is still talking of rigging in the same way that we talk here. So we should be careful. We too were the same, the Pentecostal in Nigeria, and in more cases against the vaccination. Just like in America, you have what they call
anti-vaxxers.
Christian scientists. The Christian scientists, religious body, don't believe in taking any medicine. There was a Christian scientist journalist of mine that during the Civil War, we taught the Port Harcourt, when Port Harcourt was taken by the federal government, and we moved from Port Harcourt to Nairobi. He caught malaria. We got to Nairobi. He refused to take any medication. He died in Nairobi. He didn't get back to America. We have the same situation in Nigeria. Some of them believe in anointing oil and holy water, and they don't take medication. So the extremism you are talking about is worldwide, and we have to be careful.
And what can we do about it? What can we do about it?
Well, that's where the media comes in. Well, the CNN is, which I watch a lot, are also carrying a lot of propaganda themselves. So it's difficult to really say, the influence of the media houses, particularly the online platform and internet, is becoming dangerous in terms of controlling our minds, our thinking, and our way of life.
So educating the people is really an important exercise that we all need to embark upon. And with civil society, I mean, the media sees itself as, protected entity, but a lot of civil society organizations are trying to do a lot of things to support development, to foray into health, education, social justice, and all of that. How best do you think the partnership can be cemented between, because civil society don't often have money to pay for journalists. How can we get that kind of partnership going and synergy between the media and civil society and build a stronger platform for engaging with government?
Well, the civil society must relate with the media houses. The question of paying journalists, I can't understand why anybody should think that They must pay journalists to do their job. A good story is a good story. A good program is a good program. I think you have to develop the attitude of relating regularly and persistently and consistently with the media houses. Is the only answer.
Thank you so much, sir. Now you've said so much, and your words are really very, how shall I say, to the heart of the problem. You have touched these issues with the mind and experience that you've gained over the years. Now, if you were sitting in front of President Buhari today, in terms of national unity, security, women and development, and the strengthening of partnerships, what would you say to President Buhari today, if he was in front of you, not me?
APC, I have access, and I wouldn't like to abuse my access. I belong to all the major organs of the APC, and there we push our ideas, we push our opinion, philosophy. I wouldn't want to abuse the fact that I have those access and discussion that it will be unethical for me to be revealing what we do and what have I done, what am I doing. I don't want to be for example, Chief Bisakode and I had a long discussion today about what to do in relation to security in the South and Southwest in particular. We discussed the issue of the Omo Agriculture Committee who are coming down to Southwest on the 26th and 27th of May in relation to the review of the Constitution of Nigeria. Well, I will betray confidentiality if I start talking about what we have been doing, what I have been doing as an individual at every level. As a journalist, it's unethical for me.
And we know you're a man of ethics. But in the long and short of it, what would you like to see happen to make sure that Nigerians feel secure? Just broad strokes.
Well, I want to be honest with you, whether we like it or not, there must be devolution of power. The situation in the country has reached a stage where nobody can shy away from the awesome and wide-ranging power concentrated in the center at the federal level. It's not healthy in any way, in every aspect. Security, for example, you cannot control this country from Abuja. No one IG can control what happens in Bayelsa, what happens in Maiduguri, what happens in Sokoto, and what is happening in Edo, or what's happening in Ogun State. Nigeria is too big to be under one command. So security-wise, education-wise, I mean, education is cultural. I started my own education in Yoruba in the evening storytelling by my grandparents, and it's cultural is in Yoruba. Allah is purely Yoruba, and they teach you that what is that thing that passes without greeting the Oba, and you answer is the flood. What is that thing that can knock the head of the king? You say it's the Baba with the razor. It's the one that can, after all, the king must always shave and cut his hair. So which is that thing that can knock the head of the king that is so Kabiyesi, almighty, that you don't query? And so these are the way we were trained. It's in my language. How can somebody sit in Abuja and talk of basic education? It's not possible. So there's too many things. I mean, security-wise, when I was young, neighborhood watch, even we had area father. When you go to the tap water to take water in Lagos of those days, there were senior people in the different streets who would sit and make sure that you queue and take the water at the tap. And if anything is lost, there are people within the neighborhood who will say, how dare you steal the wheel cover of Yemisi's Ransoputi's car, and immediately they apply the whip, and the wheel cover is recovered immediately. We need to go down to the level of devolution of so many things. Centralization is the greatest problem. Countries that are at peace are those countries that are practicing true federalism, like Canada is made up of French and the English speaking. But because the power is devolved in the hands of the regions, the French and the English are cohabiting in Canada. Australia has very strong regions, and the little that is given to the federal government in Australia is what is keeping Australia going as a federal union. So we have examples, and those who have tried to centralize everything have collapsed. Look at USSR. At the point, USSR collapsed. Ukraine, Georgia, they went their ways, and leaving Russia as the only country left. Yugoslavia for years was held by Marshal Tito. I don't want us to go the way of Yugoslavia. There were killings before everybody separated. Czechoslovakia used to be one country. The Czech and the Slovak, they decided to separate, and we have the Czech and Slovak, two countries. So UK today, whether they like it or not, after Brexit, Scotland is agitating. The separatists are winning election in Scotland. The last election was won a few days ago by the separatists in Scotland. And England, having exited UK, the so-called United Kingdom is not united anymore. Scotland would, in the next year, break away from United Kingdom and become a separate country. So we cannot escape all these examples that are happening all over the world. Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Ethiopia went their ways. We will, at one point, have to devolve power, whether we like it or not, and nobody can stop it.
And we're praying and hoping that that will be done peacefully, and that we will not need to see any bloodshed before we are able to empower the various regions and strengthen local governments and practice fiscal federalism to make sure that our country remains the giant of Africa that it was supposed to be. Final word to individuals, Nigerians. What would you want every Nigerian to be doing to ensure that we maintain this national unity, that we develop strategies for security within our communities, and we empower women, we empower the youths, and we ensure that there's this synergy between the citizens and the government? Final word to citizens themselves. What should they be doing?
Well, first of all, we have to be alert in our neighborhood. I saw the governor of Lagos State about a week ago, and he told me that he's going to take action on the issue of the Okada riders, but I was waiting to ensure that there is no vacuum. And I'm happy he's brought in a lot of buses. The Okada riders are becoming serious security threat. If you ask any Okada rider somewhere and say you are going to MSM in Ransoputi's house, he will lead you there. And these are people, many of them are not even Nigerians. It's most dangerous for us in a state like Lagos with about 20 million people. If there should be problem today, these Okada riders can cause serious havoc. Secondly, if there is any issue, for example, between a car owner and an Okada rider, within seconds, they gather together and they could set fire on the car owner if he's not careful. These are serious security threats. And many of them have been involved in armed robbery, banditry, and things. So we have to be very, very careful. And security conscious, I think my major advice is that we should be very, very alert. Look at Evans. Evans was keeping abducted people in Festac, and nobody in the neighborhood ever knew that Evans was. That's not the case in our younger days. You know your neighbors. The neighbors take care of your children when you are away, and apply the discipline to your children. We have to go back to our cultural value. I was watching a video recently of how the Western world imposed their religion on us. Before Christianity, before Islam came to Yoruba land, we had our own religion. The Yoruba knew of Olodumare. Olodumare is the supreme being, and it's the God. The Olodumare is one God that we didn't have any image. We had image for Shogo, for all other so-called saints in Yoruba. We believe in life after death. The masquerade, we call them Ararun. They were supposed to be angels from heaven. So our forefathers believed, before Christianity and Islam came into our land, knew of life after death. So we have to be conscious. We have to be careful. We have to be careful of brainwashing. I go to UK. Most churches now are turned into mosques or event centers and things. I don't see many British or English people going to churches anymore. And we are cleaning ourselves here, spending all our days at vigil, when we should be thinking of what to do for the country. So consciousness, respect for our culture, and our cultural value of those days that we knew about, we should try to restore them.
Yes, and going back to be our brothers keepers, looking after each other in the community.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. You have said so many really, really important things, and your recommendations will be captured. We hope to play this video at the high-level conference we're having in Ibadan, which you couldn't attend. That's why we opted to have this one-on-one with you. But we will play it during the conference. And like we said, we're going to make sure that these recommendations are placed in the front of the right people. The president, the legislature, the judiciary, and all those who have the responsibility of keeping Nigeria safe, the responsibility of growing our economy, because we're also conscious of the fact that a lot of the problems we have in insecurity is due to the fact that economic development has not happened. The youths are unemployed, the businesses are not supported, they're overtaxed. So a lot of the recommendations we have garnered over the trip around the Southwest has pointed out these lacunas, the fact that we need economic policies that support private sector, that create enabling environment for growth. We need strategies to support and strengthen the military, the police, the justice system, and various areas of our polity. And your recommendations will go a long way to shaping the outcome of our conference and the action that will take place afterwards. We will be coming back to you for action. Action time will happen thereafter. And we know you're an action man, so we're ready to follow you to make sure these things happen, sir. Thank you so much for being
Thank you very
part
much
of
for
this
giving me this
conversation.
opportunity. I appreciate it. And God bless your work and your interest. And I pray that you continue to be successful.